Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Caught on the Mic. And today's guest is guitarist, songwriter, and producer Greg Bergdorf. Greg spent more than 15 years as the lead guitarist and songwriter for one of my favorite bands, Zebrahead, recording 9 studio albums, selling over 1.5 million records worldwide, and touring the globe alongside bands like Green Day and 311. These days, he's working behind the scenes, producing and collaborating with artists across all genres. Plus, he's got an amazing project called the Bourbon Brothers Band. I was actually listening to them on Spotify. I love that crooner stuff. And we're going to talk about the early days. We're going to talk about life and how he's reinvented himself today. Greg, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Dude, it's an absolute pleasure. I want to kind of jump right into it. Let's take me back to the beginning. How did Zebrahead come together in Orange County, and what was the scene like when the band was first starting out?
Oh, wow. So when we first started, I would say, Offspring had just broke. I can't remember if No Doubt had already broke too. But we grew up in like Orange County, Fullerton. Ben went to Cal State Fullerton. I know half of the people from No Doubt went there. And like we used to see them in like backyard. I don't know if kids still do this anymore, but keg parties. There'd be a band back there playing. It'd be No Doubt all the time. And they were super huge, local hometown heroes. And then when that record came out, it was just massive. The Offspring record was just huge and both in our backyards. And the scene was kind of that. And we had, I guess Rage had just been out for a little hot second too. And then, there was some cross-pollination of like rock and rap with Korn and Limp Bizkit. And me and Ed were in a band together called 409. Ben was in another band called 3-Ply, and Justin was in a band called Once There. And they all went to the same high school, but I went to a private all-boys high school, Catholic all-boys Jesuit high school. But all my friends went to the high school that all the other guys in the band went to. So we all knew each other, just from being friends. And we had rented a lockout space in an industrial unit and shared it as the 3 bands as our rehearsal space. And so, we'd go to work during the day and then we'd get off work and one of the 3 bands would be playing there. And sometimes we'd make a schedule and somebody would practice from 5:30 to 8:30. Another band would be practicing 8:30 to 11. And there'd be an overlap of whoever's late, whoever stays late from the previous band. And we would just jam with each other since we were all friends. And Ben one day was like, "Hey, this jam's kind of fun. I got this other friend who raps, and we should bring him in and like just have him freestyle over us, goofing off." Everybody's like, "Okay, whatever," not thinking anything of it. And all 3 of our bands were like kind of the priority. And Justin's band was having a 7-inch release party at a venue. Phil remembers. It's called Coos Cafe for those of you that grew up in Southern Orange County, Southern California. But it was like this all ages coffee shop that would have bands all weekend, and everybody played there. And it was tiny. It was like playing in somebody's living room. But it would be full. Like everybody played there. And so we were all on the bill with Justin's band headlining since it was his release party. And in between set changes, we did the 2 songs that we had written, which were also pretty much freestyled. Like the music was written, but the lyrics were kind of like Allie would just freestyle the lyrics, and Justin had a melody that he sang over and over again, but he would just kind of mumble something so that you couldn't really tell what the words were because he didn't have words written for it. And the response we got from the 2 songs that we had played was 10x more than any of our individual bands. And we finished the show and we were like, we need to write more songs for this. Like, everyone loves this, but really nobody
Right.
cared about our regular fans. um, so that's how we started, was like, that was it. Oh, and like, we didn't have a name either. It was, 5 minutes before we go on, and we're like, whoa, we don't have a name. What are we going to announce ourselves as? And Allie says, I just watched this movie about a white guy growing up in a black neighborhood. It was called Zebrahead. I thought it was really cool, like, movie, and what it was about. And um, then he's like, I dug the name too. And all of us, but yeah, sure, great. If we hate it tomorrow, we'll change it. It's one gig, but it's just stuck.
Yeah. Dude, I think everybody's got a band name story like that, because coming up with a band name is probably the most tedious task of joining a band or putting one together.
Right. It's kind of even harder now because you can actually see worldwide of what's out there. Is there another YouTube channel? Is there somebody already put that out on Spotify? Back in the 90s, none of those things happened.
Yes.
So if you had a band called Blink, for instance, and there was somebody else who already released something under Blink, how would you know? And then you get you get signed, and you're like, what do you mean we got to change our name? There's another Blink somewhere. So we were actually worried about that because of the movie name, and we eventually would get signed to Sony Columbia, and as luck would have it, the Zebrahead movie with Michael Rappaport was a Columbia Sony movie, so they were like, "This is fine, don't worry about it."
Amazing. So coming up during that time frame and in that area, did you ever feel like it was more competitive or more like a community of bands pushing each other?
You might get different answers out of the original 5 of us on that one, but I always felt that being a musician, still to this day, I still feel like being a musician is a brotherhood, not a competition. Um, a
Yeah.
sort of rising tide lifts all boats sort of, scenario saying. So I personally never viewed it as a competition. And when we started playing regularly and getting noticed, um, um, by A&R, people who would come out to shows, we played at this club called 369, and um, we played there. Lit would play there. A band called Head PE played there, who also got signed. A band called Suction got signed, played there a lot, and they ended up having to change their name to Deadlights when they got signed. But on any given weekend,
Right.
one of the 4 of us was headlining, and all of us would go hang out at the shows and, like, I don't know, just cheer for each other. But at the same time, I'm also like, they gave us free beer, so maybe we were just hanging out. Aside from hanging out with our friends and our bands who we wanted to promote, like the bar would give us free beer. So like we would just be our hangout. Like we would go to 369 for no reason, and then even if one of our friends weren't playing, but like almost all we knew almost every band every weekend. We would know the entire lineup. Like so I thought it was really a great community to be part of, and to see a lot of people get signed that played out of that club all the time was really cool. And we would do,
Yes.
we would end up trading shows with bands from LA too, being from Orange County, which people who don't live in Southern California are like, oh, that's really close, right? Yeah, it is and it isn't. Like there's a line in the sand. Like usually you don't cross the two. and to make that jump from to expand from Orange County to LA County is like you're really growing. Like, and I remember we used to trade shows with oh man, I'm brain farting on the name. The Reason, that song. What? Oh my
Hoobastank.
God, Hoobastank. Thank you. And they had horns when we first started playing with them. They were like a ska band, and then they kind of evolved. And we used to trade shows with Papa Roach and go up to Sacramento and San Francisco and play with them. And it was yeah, I felt it was a great community. Like I always felt like everybody rooted for each other. Maybe sometimes in the back they're like, "Oh, but we were always like, in public and with each other. Like I always felt like we rooted for our friends and they were rooting for us. So I thought that was always kind of special.
I love that. We're going to probably touch on the Omaha connection a little later in the story. But as an Omaha guy, I know about every single band that was big at that time, had some weird Zebrahead connection at one point in their career or another. I've got my own story. I remember going to the Ranch Bowl one time, and I think it was 4th of July weekend, and it was Zebrahead and Cottonmouth Kings playing a show at the Ranch Bowl. And there was this little band that nobody had ever heard of called Linkin Park that opened the show. Do you remember that?
Oh, I wonder if they got put on the bill early, because I remember when they came out.
Yes.
Because when they were in LA, they were Hybrid Theory before they were Linkin Park. And maybe they got put on that one show, which is very possible, because that would happen all the time. We used to joke about this in Zebrahead, that if you open for Zebrahead, you're going to be super huge. So there was, I forget what Story of the Year was called before they were Story of the Year, but they had opened for
Big
us.
Blue Monkey.
Yes. And they were St. Louis, I think. Does that sound right? But they opened for us, and then we were like, who? What? Oh, this is those kids that played for us in such and such show. Another one was Buck Cherry and Everlast. We kind of played together as a 3-piece like showcase, and we were like the last to showcase. Like they went first, so that was kind of like, I don't know if that one counts, guys. Chevelle played open, got put on a bill. It became the House of Blues in Cleveland. I want to. It was called the Odeon, I think. But it was us and Real Big Fish, and they put a opener on, and their first record had just came out. They were all of like 18 or 19. And then, I mean, it was kind of like a Tool type of band, right? And we were just all looking at each other like, this is an odd pick to put on a Real Big Fish show. But then we were like, I don't know, I guess the Real Big Fish fans like us, so I don't know, maybe it's not that weird. But Chevelle was one of those bands, and it would just happen all the time where we were like, wait a minute, I remember those guys. They opened at X, Y, or Z place. So that was always our running joke in the band. But
I don't know. I think maybe
I just listened to the your pod with Chris from Less Than Jake. Because I was going to bring up if you remembered the Ranch Bowl, because I thought I had read somewhere in your bio you were in Lincoln, and I was like, oh, I wonder if you've ever been.
I'm in Lincoln,
but yeah.
And, I played
you guys
the
were
Ranch
telling
Bowl
stories about
times.
Ranch Bowls, and I was like, oh my God, I've been there. We played there probably 20 times. Yeah,
yep.
That was always. It was such a fun place, because it was when you're traveling, we first go down on tour, and you're like, Omaha, what the fuck are you doing in Omaha? And then you get there, and the venue was always so good. The crowd was always great there. The people were always great there. They had, they had the sand volleyball courts outside. Didn't they have a studio in the side too, where like Conway Twitty or Convoy or something got recorded there? And then everybody would stay late, like all the bands would stay late and house staff, and we go bowling afterwards. Like it was always a great time.
Yes. So Convoy was actually recorded at Warehouse Studios, which is in the middle of the town. But the recording studio that was part of Ranch Bowl, Goldfinger did an EP there.
Oh wow!
And
was it a live
and they had their
recording?
own record label. It was Get Go Records.
Okay.
What's that? Yeah. Well, no, they did a couple of studio tracks and a live recording.
Okay.
But
Did well? Did you know Maddie then from that era?
so here's what's crazy about that. And that's where we're bringing the Omaha connection together. My very first show, I lived at the very perfect midpoint between Omaha and Des Moines. And so I used to sing for a ska band that was kind of more Des Moines adjacent. And our very last show, we opened up for Slipknot right before they went off and did their first album. And like the Slipknot guys, you want to talk about people that had the weirdest openers ever. Slipknot guys had the Urge open for them, Real Big Fish open for them. Like everybody opened for Slipknot if they were passing through Des Moines. But whenever I decided I wanted to start a new band after that band dissolved, I was like, okay, I can either move to Des Moines and be in a Slipknot clone band, or I can move to Omaha and do whatever the fuck I want to do. My very first show was playing with Jank 1000 in Omaha.
Oh, wow.
Whenever I first moved to Omaha. So Maddie and I never really brushed paths beyond that because Jank kind of disbanded shortly after that. And I know before Maddie joined Zebrahead, he kind of laid low for a little bit and then joined Zebrahead. So just kind of crazy.
Yeah, the world gets smaller every day.
So we know each other through,
yeah,
we know each other through 6 degrees of separation more than anything else.
Yeah, I remember. So on that Chris pod, you were talking about that. Gosh, the place was called Safari Club. Is that what it was called? Slipknot's club in Iowa.
Yeah,
and we were going through there with Real Big Fish, and all the RBF guys were like, "Oh, you got to meet our friends tomorrow that own this club. They're in this crazy heavy metal band. They wear these weird clown masks and they bang on like kegs with baseball bats as part of percussion. There's like 20 of them. They all come out. I don't know how they fit on this stage, but their show is insane. I can't believe they haven't been signed yet." And we go meet them. They're all super nice. And then we're like, 2 years later, you're like, "Oh, those are those guys."
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think even now, like, it's painful 27 years later because I look at it and I'm like, was in that orbit, and it's not still like that suspension of disbelief. It's like, really? This happened, and they're like the biggest metal band in the world.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, we hung out with Slipknot before they were like Slipknot.
After nearly 2 decades with Zebrahead, you eventually stepped away from that full-time touring lifestyle. What led to that decision, and how difficult was that to close that chapter of life?
It was super difficult for me. I had kids later in life. So I think one of my other kid is staring at me from across the tap room right now as I talk about kids. But yeah, my daughter was born, and all of a sudden it became less fun to be on the road all the time. And I started thinking about, like, because I always loved music. I love making records. I love playing the shows. But then, like, being away from home became really difficult. I got really used to missing anniversaries, birthdays, my friends' weddings. I totally was, numb to that. But like missing first steps, first words was really difficult. And maybe if my story arc for Zebrahead was still new, I could be like, yeah, I got to do this. I dreamed about this since I was 11 years old. Like, I'm not like, we'll figure out how to make this work. At 42, 43, and I'd already been doing it almost 2 decades. It was like, I had this realization one night that I wasn't having new adventures anymore. I was having repeat adventures that I've already had. And then, married and kids, you're like, it's not the same shenanigans that you're going to get into. And then you try and avoid getting into shenanigans at all as you get older. And you're like, well, that's less fun, even though it's the, better thing for you. Um, and, yeah, it was, I, I just wanted to, I didn't want to miss, um, my daughter growing up and not be around. And like I said, if it was new, like Ed and Ben had kids earlier in our career, like Playmate era, um, it
Right.
I probably would have like just got used to it. But having it been um, a path that I'd already been walking on for a while, like it was um, made me rethink of just reprioritize my life and um, what I wanted out of it. And it took a good year, maybe two, to where I was really thinking about quitting, and I didn't know how to do it. My identity was so wrapped up into being, I guess, Greg from Zebrahead, that I didn't know how to be somebody else. I also didn't know how to uh, walk away from my dreams as a kid. Like, let's say I was a baseball player. At some point, even if you're really, really good, Father Time is going to kick you out. And I guess it doesn't really necessarily work that way for music. Like it'll never be a physical thing unless you have some sort of debilitating disease. But when people are still coming to the shows, people are still streaming your songs, buying records, and um, appreciating what they're listening to, the art that you're putting out. I had never envisioned me turning it off versus the world or the industry or some other forces being like your ride is over, your 15 seconds are up, or your 15 minutes are up. And I think that was hard for me to grasp too. Like I don't know how long this is gonna last. I gotta go to the end of the ride, right? Like I'm still. And I ended up having to say that no, I think this is the end of the ride for me. I think it was even weirder for me for the 2 or 3 years after that, where I just didn't touch a guitar, which was like I started playing at 11, and there was I don't, there were not many days where I didn't pick up a guitar, and there were many days where I would play guitar for 8, 10, 12 hours of time, and to not touch a guitar for 2, 3 years was, I don't know, it was kind of awkward. I don't, I didn't know what to do with myself. It's like a scene in Zoolander where he's like staring in the puddle and he's like, who am I? And so that's just like what I felt like. I'm like, who am I without playing guitar? I feel like I'm like, I don't have that creative outlet. I love playing music so much. And my friends would be like, just play in a dad rock band. I'm like, that's weird. When I've seen the other side, that's just weird now. Um, and then, yeah, it ended up being to where I play in a rec hockey league, and I hear one of the other guys in warm-ups singing under his helmet. I'm like, skate by him again. Yo, are you singing Frank Sinatra under your helmet? It's like, no. I'm like, yes, you were. He's like, okay, maybe it was. And hey, you want to come over, Jess? At like jam standing sometime? And then that's how Bourbon Brothers started, where it felt okay to do, I guess, a different genre rather than trying to replicate what I had already done, or to be like get back into Zebrahead, or like I don't know, like all of those things seemed weird to me to do, but to do something entirely different felt like, oh, that seems acceptable.
It's weird whenever you're kind of on your way out or you're kind of pondering that decision. It always feels like there's major inflection points that bring you back in. It's that line from The Godfather 3. Every time I want to get out, something brings me back in. Did you have that push pull that last year of Zebrahead?
All the time. Because definitely I still love playing shows. I love seeing fans. I would hang out with fans. There were so many fans that became friends that I would look forward to, like, oh, what city are we in tomorrow? You look at your lanyard because I wouldn't know otherwise, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna see this person tomorrow. That's cool. Or a lot of times that fans would travel for Zebrahead. Like someone would take a week vacation and like just you'd see him every night. You're like, oh, how long are we hanging out for? All right, see you tomorrow. All right, where are we going after the show? Wait, let's go grab lunch. Like they become part of the family. When you start touring that long, like the people that you see on tour, I was referred to like the other bands too, and friends that would be in different parts of the globe as like growing up in California. I never went to like a sleepaway camp, like Bill Murray Meatballs or something. But that's super normal
Right.
here in the South. And I always referred to them like by camp friends. Like it's my friends. Like you're best friends when you see them again next summer. Like we're best friends when I see these people next tour or at the next festival. But like you go home and you're like maybe you comment on their Facebook or Instagram or whatever every now and again. You shoot them an email, WhatsApp their happy birthday, but like they're not like in your day to day routine. Um, but you still consider them friends, you know. So
Yeah.
I love seeing my friends out that we had made over the years. But I think about this too when I see like Zebraheads um, on tour and it populates my feed um, and you see like these great shows at the festivals. And you're like, oh, I'm kind of miss playing festivals. That was always a great time. Like just 20,000 people, you get to be on a giant ass stage, run around, be as energetic as you want to be. You could turn your amp up to 11. Nobody cares. You're like, this is awesome. And then what you don't see that I always remember is when there's no pictures on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and it's really just 2 days of driving and you're just sitting in a bus, staring out a window, going, "When's the next petrol stop so I can get a Magnum bar and some Ritter Sport?" And you just like pulling your hair out, and then you like that part. People forget about, or people don't know that part. Like, there's more days of that than there are days of playing in front of 20,000 people at a festival or like being in Japan and playing at a baseball stadium on main stage at a festival in front of Slipknot. And we were just like, yeah, that was pretty awesome. Oh yeah. The 2 weeks before that sucked. Minus the 45 minutes of the show. And then hanging out with your friends after. But like the traveling and you're sitting there and you're just like, what? It's a 20-hour drive. You wake up at like 2 PM. You're like, shit, we're still driving.
Dude, bringing things more back to the here and now. You're doing the Bourbon Brothers band as you talked about, and like I said, fantastic music. If those of you that are listening or watching this right now, check them out on Spotify. Make sure you're giving them a follow on Instagram and checking out Greg's Instagram as well. But you've also done a lot of producing and engineering records for other artists. How does your mindset change when you're sitting behind a console and helping another artist bring their vision to life versus just writing your own music?
So let me say, I really respected Howard Benson, who did our first two records, and Cameron, who did our records following that. And like there were times we would butt heads, and it was never like, I hate you. I wish I could fire you. Like it was just a vision of what direction a song or a tone or a part of a song is going. And at the time I would be really wrapped in when you're in it and it's your song. It's your name on the spine of the CD or vinyl or cassette tape or whatever medium it is at the current time, right? You really want it to be your way as the artist. And when the five of us as a band were on the same page with a song, like didn't matter. Like we get our way. Like it would roll. When the five of us were fractured of how we thought a song should go or a part should be, let's say like two people wanted it one way, two people wanted it another way. One person was like, I don't know, I care less. And then the producer someone's got to solve the fight. Someone's got to push things along because there's deadlines and timelines and money's getting spent every day in the studio. Like there has to be a completion to it. And if the five of us couldn't get it together, I would be bitter that somebody else did it or I didn't get my way and somebody else outside of the band would get their way. I would be like, both of you are wrong. Both factions are wrong. We're doing it this way. So I think it gave me perspective to produce other people's music of like, oh shit, they don't know what they want and they're fighting about it. And I don't have all day. Let's move this along.
Right.
So I think that it really changed my perspective of sitting in that seat and being outside of the band, where it wasn't my name on the spine, and being able to look at it from a different perspective than the artistic perspective of what you wanted to say, what you wanted to sound like, what you wanted to look like, versus we have some harsh realities of budget and this needs to move along.
Right.
Or nobody's going to like that. Like, okay, that's great. There's always deep cuts on records. And a lot of times the deep cuts are the band's favorite records because they get to be a little weirder. At the same time, there's got to be a couple of singles, right? Some songs that people listen to and immediately click with. And sometimes you have to drive that point home with bands too. And it doesn't have to be 12 out of 12 songs on the record have to be like that. It's like that thing you do. You're going to give me that thing you do in Spanish and it's going to be snappy. Like the other side, I don't care. It's yours. Go nuts.
Right.
So I guess producing other people's stuff made me respect the people that I had worked with before a lot more. And I already respected Cameron and Howard tons. I learned so much from the both of them. I should throw Marshall in there too. All of that. And, but they were all very influential on our band and our sound and our growth as artists and songwriters and recording artists. So I think it gave me more respect for them. And I already respected them all too.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes you see newer bands making when they're trying to break through?
These days, I would say consistency. Like if you're trying to break now, the rules have changed so much from when Zebrahead first got signed. Between the fall of major labels, nobody buys records. There's not any record stores anymore, or CD stores, I guess. Vinyl's making a big comeback. Vinyl's great. But it's a lot about streams, and to be active on streams, at least Spotify, like they want you to be consistent. They don't want a record once every 2 years. They want continuous singles every 4, 6, 8 weeks to keep you in the algorithm, to keep pushing, to keep interest. So I would say too much time off is probably somewhere where young bands fail. And as much as I hate to say it or admit it, like social media is part of that as well. Like you got to be consistent with posting to social media with relevant content. If you're trying to break out and grow your audience to more people, more bigger shows, bigger gigs.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with that. It's funny you mentioned Story of the Year, formerly Big Blue Monkey. I just had Josh on a couple of days ago. He's the drummer of Story of the Year. And we were talking about the new release strategy and how artists have kind of a love-hate relationship with it, because by the time an album comes out, you've already pretty much played the entire album for a fan base because of the requirement of having that one single every 6 to 8 weeks just to keep that algorithm engaged.
Yeah.
Some artists like it, some don't.
Yeah. It's it's just different. The rules change. I mean, it's progress whether you want to get on board with it, or I guess progress might not be the right word for some people, but there's change involved, for good or for bad. In a lot of ways, it's difficult for artists now to wrap their head around that to be successful, you have to accept that it's the music business and not just music. And they need to take the reins of the business aspect of it. And, where like when Zebrahead got signed, we didn't have to think about marketing. We didn't have to think about, how to put that together. Columbia and Sony took care of that. There's people that were specialized in that, but now you have to be able to do that yourself. You have to be able to figure out like what pictures you're going to take, what's your social media strategy kind of content. Like you have to be your own publicist. You have to be to a certain point until you reach a certain height. You have to be your own booking agent. You have to be your own manager. Like the artist has to be more involved with the things that most of us artists tried to run away from. And why we became artists is because we didn't want to be in business. Like that was a rough pill for me to swallow somewhere in my late 20s, where it was like, my record is just a widget. But if you don't sell enough widgets, you're going to have to go get a job and you don't get to play music for a living. And so like that's, so there's the rub.
Yeah, for sure. And you addressed a lot of the challenges that newer artists face, but they're kind of like, I work a lot in the fighter space too. And one of the coaches I work with, his favorite line is pressure is a privilege. And, artists are really lucky to have that privilege as well, because they have more autonomy over what they're putting out there in the world. But what is the bigger advantage for a new artist trying to build a career today?
I think you have accessibility that you didn't have before. There's the gatekeeper walls are down. Like but now, like when Zebrahead got signed, the major labels, or at least indie labels, some label of some sort, were gatekeepers to the industry of what could be out and listened to. Like someone had to go fund for you to be in the studio, because there was no such thing as a home recording studio unless you were just filthy rich and you had something in your, basement or, garage that you could record something on, which was a super rarity. Like that, just didn't happen. You could record full record in your basement, in your apartment nowadays. Like you don't even need a basement. Like you don't even need space. Like you don't even need to not be loud anymore. Like there's plenty of plugs. There's fractals. Like you don't need amps. You don't need to be on 10. You don't need to be at 120 decibels recording guitars anymore. Maybe drums, you can make an argument for that. But even drums, it's like half the records I hear that have drummers, I'm like, that's not drums on that record. Those are programmed. Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? Like, those aren't real. Like my wife's a big Swiftie.
Right.
And so when that last record came out, she's like, what do you think? She's like, she's asking me all these questions. She's like, I want to have a podcast where I just ask you questions about music, because I had so much to say. I'm like, these aren't, I don't know why there's drummer in the band. There's no drums on this record. What are you talking about? And then there's like 2 songs later, I'm like, oh, this song has drums. And I'm like, I hate these guitars on this next song. And she's like, what's wrong with the guitars? I'm like, that's not a real amp. And it sounds like you plugged in direct and there's nothing happening. Like, this is the worst, shittiest sound for a fucking guitar I've ever fucking heard. Like a 14-year-old should be able to do better than this. These are like $1 million producers, and the best of them, the best guitar tone these clowns can come up with.
Right.
So, there's just so much fate instruments happening now. It's like you don't. So, I mean, I don't know how many streams, but I'm gonna guess Taylor Swift's last album is in the billions, and they probably recorded that. And she got those Swedish guys, right? So they probably did that in some Swedish apartment
Yeah.
that they live in, that's in some $1 million high rise, where it's like, yeah, as they shot, they just did it there. There's one room. There's they're all in the same room. There's no vocal booth. There's like, and 99% of the people don't. That I'm snobbish about it. Like, my wife has no idea, and as long as the vocals sound good, the average person has no idea that.
Right.
Like, right,
right. And it's hard to unmarry yourself from those things once you hear them. Like, if you've been in a studio environment, studio has a certain sound. So like
Yeah.
synthetic sounds sound synthetic, you know? And I love the fact that you're absolutely passionate about it. So let's confront that head on. After decades in the industry, touring, writing and producing and collaborating, what still gives you the spark that made you want to pick up guitar in the first place?
I still love music. I love playing. I think one of the things, like, let's take Bourbon Brothers, for instance. One of the things that I love about Bourbon Brothers is that outside of starting with Fly Me to the Moon and ending with My Way, everything in the middle, we've maybe written 4 set lists in the 6-7 years we've been together. Like, we just call it, we look over each other and be like, hey, this one. No? All right, this one. And we pull up a chart and we play it. And then we probably have 5 hours, 6 hours worth of music that we could play. Of all the songs that we can pull out of our hat, I have maybe 3 solos that are scripted. So it gets to the solo section and it's just a new song for me again. We're like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to start it over here. I want to play it like this today. And sometimes I don't even think of it. I'm just like, oh, we're in B flat. It's my time to shine. Let's play solo. And it's the making it new, having it be different, even though it could be the same song. It's like I've got box sets upon box sets of Louis Armstrong CDs, and the same songs appear over and over again, but the song is different every time. There's different players. They play different solos. It could be the same band that's going to be different solos. Yes. The song could be just a different tempo because they didn't, I don't, they were in a different mood that night. And I think that's what makes music cool to me and fun, is that it's like life. Every day is a new day. Even if you got to go to the same job every day, it's not quite the same every day. And having that spontaneity and that newness to keep the next day fresh, the next song fresh, the next part of a song, like, it's like, oh, what's under there? Oh, I love that part. Oh, you already did that. Don't do that again. Or I did that yesterday, but I really like that one part. I won't play that again. Or that was awesome. What did I just do? I can't remember what I just did. And all of those things are endearing to me. Like, it just kind of makes me love music. And there's always something to learn. There's always something to get better at. Like, you never perfect it. And that's always great for me. And you get to do it with your friends, and sometimes you get to play it in front of your friends too.
Yes.
So it's like, oh man, it's like bonding with other people, both the people you're playing with and the people you're playing for. Whether it's just musically, whether it's lyrically, you can speak to their sorrows and just be the soundtrack to someone's life. I always thought it was really cool. Like, there was a point we'd been around long enough to where fans would have me sign CDs, right? And they would have like 4 CDs. And I'm like, oh man, you guys went big. You've been fans for a hot minute. They're like, yeah, okay, tell me which one's your favorite. And I would try and dodge the question, but if they'd press me or if they knew me, I'll be like, oh, this one's my favorite. But I'll sign all CDs and then I'll look at them and then I'd be like, let me guess which one is your favorite. And I would kind of try and guess from how old they were, and when, like, a summer where they would not be in school and they would be traveling to like go to shows and be old enough to maybe drink and have extended party time, to where I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, what year was my band or Zebrahead the soundtrack to their summer? And they just put this on 10 for like 3 months while they're going to other shows, going to our shows, like going to festivals, their camp outs at festivals. Like, which summer would that be been? And I would try and guess like with their age and be like, this one's your favorite record. They're like, oh my God, did you know? I'm like, yeah. You get older and wiser, you start figuring things out. I always thought it was like an honor to be part of somebody's life like that, even like if you're not there, like that
Yeah.
something that you made could affect somebody like that. You know, like Zebrahead's kind of a party band, so like it was always like a good time. But there's plenty of bands that I love that was like I listen to when I'm sad, and it's like they're the hug that you need when you're not in a good mood. They're the band that makes you think about something in a different way politically. They're the band that makes you angry when you're like, I want to fucking strangle that fucking person. And like, there's different moods that different bands like give you, and different different songs give you. And to be able to relate to other people like that is like, that's maybe one of the coolest things about music like that, to connect with other people. I feel like I'm rambling.
I love that. No, I love that. I love that. So if a 20-year-old musician asked you how to build a career that lasts 20 years in this industry, what advice would you give them?
Oh, so I don't know if it was a reel or if I read it in a thread somewhere, but someone asked this question of Willie Nelson. And Willie's response was, I can tell you how I got there and what my story was, but that window closed and your window is going to be different. And you got to figure out what that is for you. And I was like, that's really profound, because every artist is different. Every time is different. And every, like, the moments change and doors open and close before you, as you're not even thinking about them sometimes, especially when you're younger. Like you don't, you're just in the moment. Especially like when I was younger, I'd give tomorrow a second thought a lot of times. I'm like, I want this now. And as you get older, you're like, maybe you should think about what tomorrow's going to bring if you do that now. and I just thought that was a really great answer from him, of like, I can tell you my story. That door is closed though. Like you're going to have to find your own way, and how that is for you. That said, I do think there are some hallmarks of like what it is to try and be successful. Like some of that is understanding what the I don't want to say the algorithm, because it's not necessarily always the algorithm, but what the industry or what the people, what the fans want. You got to be able to connect. And whether that's like you're a Joe Satriani and you connect because you shred, and like there's a whole bunch of like guitar players that are just like, my mind's blown. Or you connect like a Taylor Swift and you're telling stories that relate to other women and girls about breaking up, or fucking the patriarchy. Or
Right.
whether it's about being sad and you're like, I had this terrible time, and you're like a Radiohead band. It just depends on what the song that you're writing, and how does it connect to people, how does it relate, and then how are you going to get them to hear that? So step one, what's the art, the medium, the widget, however you want to look at it, how is that going to relate to the people? And then two, as much as I hate to say it, how are you going to sell them that widget? How are they going to find out about the widget so that you can touch their lives in a special way? Like if you don't go out and push, if you're not creating content or running ads or playing shows, or like how are you going to how's anyone going to know about the art you've created if you're not out there publicizing it in some way? So I guess those would be like the two hallmarks of what you need to figure out, and everybody's story of how that is will be to some varying degrees different.
Yes. Dude, I have really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and enjoyed this time getting to know each other. We just kind of flew by. Dude, I would love to have you on the show again sometime in the future if you're up for it.
Yeah, anytime.
Man, Greg Bergdorf, formerly of Zebrahead, the Bourbon Brothers band. Ladies and gentlemen, he will be tagged in the episode description of this podcast. It'll be tagged in the episode description on Instagram and social media platforms. Greg, thank you so much for doing the show.
I was waiting for the question. I had like prepped the question on the listening to other episodes.
You did. You're waiting for that question? I almost avoided it just because of the other last question I asked you. What is your advice for making the world a better place tomorrow than what it is today through your eyes?
Put down your phone. Stop doom scrolling. There's nothing good comes out of there. Put a cap, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. We started doing this at my house where there's a no device Sunday and there's no devices allowed. Sometimes you need to pick up something for work and you're like, God damn it, I gotta get it fun. But also, so it was actually my wife that decided the no device Sunday. I was like, I love it. I'm in. Let's do it. We're enforcing this with the kids. But then like 2 weeks into it, I'm like, you know what else I'm going to name this? This is now Vinyl Sunday, because she would inevitably put on.
Yes!
She would tell Google in our kitchen, she'd be like, Google, play Sunday jazz playlist. And I'm like, what is this bullshit? This is AI generated crap. Like, can we at least pick a Miles Davis record or something? Like, don't just tell me to play AI jazz. I'm going to pull my hair out. And then I said, you know what? F that. We're doing vinyl. I got a giant record collection. We got a sweet ass stereo system downstairs. Only vinyl on Sundays. Period.
Yes. Pull out the Bill Evans trio and just be happy with life, man. Holy crap, dude. I absolutely love that. You know, and I am so sad that we almost missed that question, but I got caught up in the whole, what's your advice for the 20-year-old to be a musician, that I totally forgot it. So good call out, because that was a perfect answer, Greg. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Dude, I love it. And ladies and gentlemen, take his lead. Everybody should have a Vinyl Sunday. Man, Greg, thank you so much, man. I'm glad to know you and glad to now call you a friend.
Me too. I can't wait to tell more Ranch Bowl stories next time.
Yes!